I'm sure that you've heard people before say, listen to your gut, or go with your instinct, or go with your gut. And today I am bringing on Jessica Rink, and she is an intuitive coach. Jessica is the founder of New Earth Coaching. So she's an intuition coach focused on helping professionals connect with their intuition and energy in a way that gets projects and people unstuck, creating momentum that moves mountains. I'm sure you're going to love this interview today. Let's get right into it. Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. I am super excited today to talk with Jessica Rink. She and I met recently at a networking event, and she coaches on intuition and just has a really, really super cool vibe. I know that you're going to love her as well. So I'm going to just jump right into it today. So Jessica, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to just kind of kick us off by telling us just a little bit more about you and why you started coaching in the intuition space, and why is it so important?
Yeah. So this job kind of found me. At one point, I realized that there are so many good leaders out there that lead from a place of, well, it's almost complete. And I got to work in corporate America for a really long time and saw just leadership across the board do so many amazing things, and got to work with tons of different people. But what I found was a lot of people were not listening to a very natural ability that we all have, and that's that gut instinct or intuition. Some people call it a little bit differently. And once I discovered that, especially in small business, in communities, people of all ages and stages, um, there just seemed to be something missing in the way that they were presenting themselves to the world and in their lives. And so it just had me start to question, what can I do about that? And I've been blessed with a very strong intuitive sense. It's been there my entire life. It went largely unrecognized for a really long time. But after COVID happened and all of these things, I thought, oh gosh, like now's the time. Now's the time to tell people, like, you're so intuitive and there's this piece of you that's missing. Let's connect the dots and get you feeling good. Because what I saw was just people were not feeling good across the board. And it's been pretty scary for a lot of us. So that's how New Earth Coaching was born, was just out of this drive and inspiration that I just saw something missing in people that everybody has. And there was just a couple of dots that could be connected, and I knew that I could do something about that.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And one thing that you said kind of sparked a question for me. And I think you kind of started to answer this question for me, but also you said that especially around COVID was when you really felt this like urge of like, okay, there is a need for this. And you said that people just in general were just kind of in a darker place, right? If we can say it that way. So what was it about like that time period for you that really kind of woke you up to like, this is a need that people may or may not know that they have, and I'm ready to step into that?
It came down to decision making and choices. There was just so many things. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about the economy? What are we going to do about our households? What are we going to do about work?
Yeah.
And with the information age that we live in, the level of choices like exponentially increased, and the level of decisions that we need to make on day to day also increased.
Mhm.
And I just saw people making decisions from perhaps a fragmented place within them,
Yeah.
rather than this is what I want for my life, this is what I believe, these are what my values are. And so I just saw disconnection across the board. I was able to consult with some small business owners too that were brilliant people and were limiting themselves in some pretty significant ways. And I thought at that time, like, oh my gosh, small business is really going to do a lot to save this economy and get us going again. Um, what can we do to empower these leaders to remind them that they're absolutely brilliant and they know exactly what to do with any situation that they're given? And so that's how the coaching and consulting kind of came to be.
Yeah, yeah, I really love that. That's super awesome. So I feel like this question is, I don't know, maybe a little bit self-serving, maybe. But what would you say to people who either feel like they aren't very intuitive naturally, or maybe have trouble like tapping into that gut instinct?
Yeah, I come across this all the time and with everybody that I meet because I'm not intuitive. Yes, you are. It's a gift that we all have. We were born with it, but somewhere in our childhood, it wasn't nurtured because it's just not very popular in our society, or at least it wasn't.
Mhm.
And we forgot that we have this ability. The trick to intuition is that it's directly connected to our right brain. And so our right brain is in charge of creativity and also emotions. And
Mhm.
I think in our society, we do a very good job at pretending that certain emotions aren't there or that they're not a big deal. And we just kind of shove it down. Well, every time we deny an emotion, we're also denying the thing that's the mechanism for our intuition.
Mm.
So to tap into that, we have to start getting really comfortable with our feels. And
Yeah.
that can be kind of hard.
Mhm. Yeah.
Totally get it, especially for people who feel like their emotions are overwhelming or that they don't know what's going to happen if they fully invest into a particular feeling.
Yeah. 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 So true. Have you heard that study somewhere that says they asked a bunch of men and women, would you rather, get like give yourself an electric shock or be alone with your thoughts for like, I don't know, it was like 15 minutes. It wasn't even, and like they literally put these people in a room where they could just sit and be quiet and alone. And people chose to like shock themselves and get out of there instead of just being quiet and alone with their thoughts. I think that's really crazy. So it made me think of that when you said that. Yeah, sometimes people are really just afraid to kind of like sit with what, what's stirring around up there or whatnot. So I really like that. I like how you associate together like feelings and intuition and kind of trying to tie those together and listening to that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you and I talked recently a little bit more in depth, and there were a couple different things that came up when we had that discussion, and I wrote them down because I thought I really want to make sure that we touch on these today. One of them was discernment. And as a finance coach, I'm talking to people a lot about like their goals and their values and spending decisions that they're making and things like that too. So can you talk a little bit more about where you see intuition coming into play to kind of helping people with being more discerning?
Absolutely. Discernment is an art. It is not as simple as making a decision, although that's a part of it and a function of it. But discernment includes kind of a layered 360 view around any given thing. And it is very much connected to that individual's values, perceptions, and definitions of how they want to look at things. Discernment includes cognitive processes as well as emotional. It also includes the intuition, which is a big piece of that. But it's the process of coming to a conclusion in a very multivariate way. And so just to simply call discernment is just making a choice, I think that's a very limited aspect of it. Discernment is a process. And
Mhm.
so when it comes to discernment, I think that is a large part of where intuition training comes in, is that intuition comes in and gives you a flash of something, a flash of brilliance. Or one of my favorite quotes about intuition is intuition tells the thinking mind where to look next.
Mm.
And so if you've got a range, this landscape of choices all over the place, and you're like kind of overwhelmed by it, what can intuition do? Look over in this direction. Well, then from that point, it's when discernment needs to start to take over and really determine at what level you're going to get engaged with this direction and what will some of the various outcomes of that be in a very complete way of looking at it. So can be a complex process, but I want to stress that it's a lifelong skill and something that we should all, well, I don't like to say should, but would do very well to
Yeah.
invest some time and attention into, because it's our society's getting really loud and there are many, many, many distractions and there are many shiny things that can pull us away from what we held and valued at one point in our lives. And just a couple of degrees shift can take you light years off your path
Mhm.
if discernment is not in play here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with that more because I do see that often. When a lot of clients that come to me are sort of in that like I don't quite want to say like middle age, but like you've got a lot of life under your belt and there's been a lot of decisions that you've made in the past that you feel like you're still paying the price for, if you will, or still committed to, and it doesn't feel in alignment with who you are or want to be and all that too. So yeah, I think all of this ties together nicely. And I agree, right? It's not that you should do this or should do that, but boy, it sure does serve a lot of us well to learn some personal growth and development skills and tools that will guide us through the rest of life. So another thing that we talked about, and we didn't even really go into it a whole lot last time we talked, so I'm just going to let you say what you want to about it, but this concept of the brain rescaffolding, I just think that is such a really cool visual image. So I want you to just kind of talk about that a little bit more too.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I love the imagery around it because it creates a visual of how our brain and cognitive processes work. From the moment we take our first breath, we're pulling in information that creates the perceptions and values and beliefs that we will later live our life on. And that's an 18-year process. Depending on how somebody was raised, if they agree with the things that got scaffolded and built up around their personality, then wonderful. But sometimes there were variances in what that person's soul or inner being differs from how they were raised. And it's at that point that people do well to look at certain things. Do I really believe this? Let's say parents had some interesting spending habits, and the child adult at this point has those same interesting spending habits. Well, is it working for them? And that's at that point where certain belief systems and values, just as you know, need to be reconstructed a little bit. So when I work with people's subconscious mind, which is where the intuition lives, there are many belief systems and many perceptions that might block the full construct of that intuition from coming forward. And so we spend a lot of time at first determining where the scaffolding lies and if some of those structures need to come down.
Mhm.
At some point, we've done enough, and then it's time to rebuild. And that's the rescaffolding piece of beliefs and affirmations and things you want to see in your future come together. And that's how we rebuild the consciousness at that point. So it's interesting that I tend to meet people where they perceive themselves as a midlife crisis. And I think there's something to that. We get all this information in the first half of our life, and then we're met with this choice of like, is this working for you? What do you think? And I don't know about if people are still going out and buying the Ferraris at this point, but maybe we all would do well to just take a look and see if our life is heading in the direction that we want it to. And if it isn't, then some rescaffolding might be needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So true. Yeah. So, I mean, and you mentioned money just a little bit there too. So I just want to kind of ask you about this too. So when it comes to our relationship with money, whether that's earning it or spending it or investing, saving it, how do you think that intuition can show up in a way that we can start paying more attention to it? Right. So if there is some intuition there and someone believes that they can tap into that, what do you feel like are some ways that it shows up for people? And I guess this is maybe kind of unexpectedly, right? Because you talked about it being on a subconscious level. So where does it show up that we can kind of go, I need to listen to that?
Absolutely, especially if someone's trying to change their belief systems around money and how they wield it. It's a tool, it's an energy. It must be respected, or else we don't really understand it.
Mhm.
So, when it comes to intuitive capabilities and the topic of money, your intuition can be your best friend with this
Mhm.
because you're a team. It is literally the innermost, most optimized part of you that's gently nudging and guiding in certain directions. So, let's say somebody's like, I want to save to purchase a house. Well, the next time they go to the store and they want to purchase something that's out of alignment with that goal, intuition's going to nudge, like, sure, that is that in alignment? And if it's not in alignment, then there's a gentle maybe not a recorrection, but just a gentle reminder. And so if intuition starts to sound like Jiminy Cricket, okay, then we'll go with that metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I love the word that your word choice there of saying wielding it, right? Yes, because that I think that is super important. I definitely am very much in line with thinking about money simply as a tool, right? It's a means of exchange and all that too. And so yeah, the relationship part of it can be one thing. I think sometimes even when we have a healthy relationship with money, we still may not always act in a way that aligns with what our longer term goals and things like that are. So yeah, I think that would be a really really good opportunity for people to start kind of quieting and listening to yeah, what's inside. So yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Okay, you have a workshop that is coming up soon. I'll put all the details in the show notes as well too. But do you want to tell us a little bit more about the intuition and feminine presence workshop?
Yeah, getting to partner with a fellow coach who's the founder of the Feminine Foundation. And so we're teaming up to teach women about their intuitive ability and about this magnificent feminine presence that we all know is in there, but maybe have some difficulty or haven't fully met that aspect of ourselves yet. So
Mhm.
it's on May 5th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and it's by Zoom. The intention is that everyone who attends is going to walk out of there feeling more connected to their feminine presence without apology,
Mhm.
and will have met an aspect of their intuition maybe they haven't seen before, or get it amplified in some way. Very excited about this workshop, and thanks for the opportunity to promote it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it sounds like a really, really neat collaboration between the two of you too. So yeah, I'm looking
Thank you.
forward to that. Yeah, awesome. So Jessica, tell me or tell everyone listening, where can they learn more about you, connect with you, just kind of, creep your social profiles and see what you're all about.
So I've got a pretty great social media presence. It's called New Earth Mindsets, trying to help people lock into that intuition mindset. Or it can be found online at www.newearthcoaching.com. I do offer free one-on-one consults to anybody who's looking to get more information about their own intuition and energy. So just encourage people to sign up to chat. I'd love to speak with them.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. So thank you so much, Jessica. This has been a really fun conversation today. And I hope for everybody watching that you've, it's piqued your interest a little bit more and that you maybe want to learn more about how you can really sort of go within and find out what is within you as well too, and reach out to Jessica for that as well. All right. Thank you so, so much, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you later. Okay, let me stop recording. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. If you want to check out other videos that also talk a bit about money and your mindset too, check out this playlist, and I will see you back here next time. Bye.